Do you consider yourself an intuitive, creative person? For many years, ever since I was young, ever since I could remember, I felt like I had the spark of creativity in me. I was always daydreaming in class. I hated school. It felt like a prison to me. And it wasn't until I entered my 30s that I started to kind of explore my abilities and creativity and give it the time needed to be able to grow that. There is a deep psychology behind all of this stuff. And one of the more prominent figures that I studied in college when I was getting my degree in psychology was Carl Jung. I had a professor that was obsessed with Jung. I think it was because he kind of touched on the more spiritual aspects where all of the others were solely concerned with, just how the brain functions, the physical things that we can see and examine and measure. I've always kind of felt like there was a world unseen. Take, for example, radio waves. They exist, but you can't see them. You can't feel them necessarily, unless you're in a microwave oven, but they're there and they affect everything around us and they can transmit messages, etc. So that's just one example of an unseen thing that directly affects the visible physical world that surrounds us. And today we're going to cover Carl Jung's theory on introverted intuitives. This is kind of an abridged summary. There's a lot of channels out there that do this. And this one is by Alchemical Vortex, and it's titled Carl Jung and the Rise of Introverted Intuitives. Now, I think this is worth a listen. So we're going to go over this just briefly, and I'm going to just kind of give my reaction to it and see if it aligns with some of the experiences that I've had in my life. And only recently I've been able to unlock my creativity thanks to things like FreeCAD and this headset. Okay, I've been using the VR headset here. This is the Metaquest 3. I think it's an excellent option. The 2 is great too. It's on sale. You can start with that. That's a lot cheaper. And you can hook it up to your PC and use the sculpting apps. I've been using Shapelab. I liked Adobe Medium. It's now Substance Modeler 3D. And I've been able to make things like accessories for the VR headset. This is my chameleon holster. I know it looks goofy, but hey, hold on one second, okay? Not only does a belt of your choice fit inside and wrap around your big tummy, it looks cute like a chameleon, and the controllers slide in and out just like that. It's like magic. And then we have this squishy detachable tongue. Okay, this is made out of TPU. That's a squishier filament in 3D printing. And I designed this whole thing in FreeCAD, but it clips on very easily. And you can put your smartphone, okay, when you're gaming, screen side down, on that squishy tongue, and it retains it pretty good. Now, I do understand that I have these baggy, puffy eye things. I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with me, and so is the doctor, but we can't figure it out. So it's probably a combination of sinus and kidney and liver issues. So alcohol is off the menu. Just eating a lot of fruits, citrus, all that good stuff. So we'll see what happens. But I apologize if I look really down and sad. I don't know. It's been going on for like 2 years, so just bear with me. But I came across this video and watched a little bit. And I felt like this is something that's relevant to this channel. This channel, I'm trying to cover the idea of exploring your creativity and design things that you thought that you never could design. I don't know. It's this thing inside of me. I just have to do it. Like, I've always felt like I was supposed to learn how to make things. I don't know where that comes from or why. Like I said, I went to Disney World and I got some stories about that. It was a great time. But I got really inspired by a lot of the things there. And I was able to sculpt in the hotel for a little bit on my bed. I was working on a Elegoo candy dispenser, I don't know, for the winter. I like to make candy dispensers. Here's my popcorn candy bucket for Halloween. It's a little ghost. I have videos about that on this channel. So honestly, I thought I would never be able to make anything. And then I put in the hours, and I'm a very slow learner, but I eventually get it. So, and then I found that I get the fundamentals down more stronger than most people because they just breeze right through it. Pinky out, SpongeBob. All right, so without further ado, let's take a look at some of this. All right. Let it roll.
For a long time, extroverts have dominated social spaces. Talkative, quick-witted, adaptable to any environment. But what about those who prefer to observe in silence, capturing nuances that others overlook?
All right. Already, this is pretty much as far as I got. This is totally me. Yeah, that describes pretty much ever since I can remember.
Intuitive introverts are masters at reading the unseen. They sense what isn't said, perceive subtle patterns, and understand the world in a unique way. Carl Jung was one of the first to study this psychological type.
Yeah, in college, I had a professor that was obsessed with him. Like I said, I think it's because he touched on her spiritual beliefs. It was a religious area, so go figure. But he has some very interesting takes on things that are largely unexplained by pure science.
And revealed something essential. They don't...
By the way, yes, I am going to be stopping this periodically. If I don't, then I'm not making my own content.
Just live in the concrete world.
Deal with it.
But also in the realm of possibilities and hidden meanings. However, this extraordinary sensitivity comes with challenges. The struggle to express themselves, the feeling of isolation, and the constant sense of being misunderstood are all part of their journey.
To the T. I mean, already it's checking all the little boxes for me. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah. This is why, I mean, I'll explain a little bit later, but I have like maybe one or two friends in my life. I'm pretty sure it'll go deeper.
But what if there were a way to turn this intuition into a real advantage? In this video, you'll discover what makes intuitive introverts so special, the obstacles they face, and how they can use their perception to build authentic connections and gain a clearer vision of the future.
Yeah, so I don't care much about the authentic connections thing because I've discovered, becoming an adult. And I think there's a lot of content online, which is great. We're in this era where you can look up pretty much anything to try and figure out, what is wrong with people, right? Anyway,
if you've ever had the impression that you see beyond the obvious, you may be about to understand your true uniqueness, the complexity of the intuitive introvert. While most people focus on what's right in front of them, the intuitive introvert perceives what hasn't been said. They notice subtle shifts in tone, expressions that contradict words, and hidden intentions behind superficial conversations.
Hot damn. Dude, this is this is what I do all the time. This is scarily accurate. I don't know if this describes you, but I find that a lot of the people that are interested in making things or doing creative things, even if they're not good at it, they have these qualities to them. They just pick up on things that people don't notice. And I think you have to do that because if you're going to be drawing something or painting, right? People who aren't as creative or don't explore it, their brain takes shortcuts and they just breeze on through. And that's why they draw an eyeball like a circle. And that's why you draw a nose like a triangle, right? And that's why you draw a mouth, like a cat's mouth or that goofy looking, that shape that everybody does. These oversimplifications are the skipped details. And we're not like, for me personally, I would say I don't have ill intentions. I'm just looking for like the bottom, like where's the bottom? I'll explain something funny in a few minutes, something that happened to me in math class in like second grade.
This ability, though powerful, can be a challenge. When they try to share their insights, they're often met with doubtful looks or dismissive comments like, "You're imagining things." Over time, they learn that it's easier to stay silent. This difficulty in expressing themselves can lead to unintentional isolation.
Guys, gals, This is why I don't make content. I'm not even kidding. I'm fine in a conversation face to face. I can navigate, a whole room. Like, I'll be the one to start the conversation, not because I'm nervous, just because I don't know. I want to foster the good conversation. I want to kindle that fire. I want to create that spark that gets it going, right? So we can really cook. But I find a lot of people don't want to do that, or they're all wearing masks. Excuse me. Yeah, I went to Disney, and then on the plane ride home, I felt when the pilot turned on the engine, we were sitting behind the wings, behind the engine, and immediately me and a bunch of people behind me started coughing. Okay? It was bizarre. There was no smell to it, but as soon as he kicked on the engine, we were all coughing. And by the time I got back, I was sick. Maybe those chemtrail people are onto something. I have no idea.
They want to connect, but their way of thinking often finds no resonance in everyday conversations.
Yeah.
They take part in social interactions but frequently hide what they truly perceive, as explaining their vision requires a depth that few are willing to explore.
Yeah, so like if there's like political news or like happenings in the world, I do this all the time. Like I try to I'll introduce a topic to somebody, especially somebody that doesn't care, to see if I can pique their interest. And I have a hard time getting them to, I guess I'm trying to get them to intuitively see through what I see through. Right? But like 90% of people can't do that, or they won't do that. They refuse to do that. Yeah.
Still,
let's keep going.
The need for genuine exchange remains. To fill this gap, many intuitive introverts turn to books, psychology, philosophy, or any field that offers answers to the questions their minds are constantly formulating.
Dude, I have done this so many times. I looked, 2012 was a wild era on YouTube. It was so awesome. We had ancient aliens. We had all these like Anunnaki theories. We had all this like UFO bullshit. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I like going down rabbit holes. I love it. I also looked into alternative science because, I got these textbooks. I was like, all right, I want to understand magnetism. I opened the textbook. It's like it was like over $100 that they were using in physics classes in a lot of universities. I open it up and it says magnetism is magnetic force. And it consists of magnetic lines and whatnot. And I was like, oh, are you kidding me? So that's when I looked to alternative science. I still love that stuff. I keep it on the back burner. And then the philosophy aspect, like the Alan Watts stuff was exploding at the time. Now you have a bunch of AI, fake Alan Watts stuff on YouTube. That's unfortunate. But like all that stuff, I was constantly listening to that stuff while I would work out. And I'm always looking for that alternative explanation.
Finding spaces where they can express themselves
never satisfied
without fear becomes essential for their balance. Intuition and human relationship. The intuitive introvert has a heightened perception that functions like an always active emotional radar.
Oh, yes. Yes. I can read people a mile away. That sounds so cringe and corny, but it's like I pick up on it. I don't know if it's a observational thing or if there's something to it, right? That we can't see in the background. Maybe there's vibes, right? Energy waves. I have no idea.
They pick up on subtle nuances in their surroundings, often sensing unspoken emotions. This sensitivity allows them to understand hidden intentions and avoid problematic situations, but it can also be exhausting.
Yeah. This is so true. This is so true. Especially people that try to fuck with me. I will do this all day. That's my number one hobby. Okay. It's not the sculpting and stuff. It's this. I should have been a psychologist. I chose not to be a psychologist. I just didn't want to do that.
In social interactions, absorbing so much information at once can lead to overload, making them seek refuge in solitude.
Yeah, you get tired.
This ability to see beyond the obvious directly affects their relationship. When they notice inconsistencies in people's behavior, they might interpret certain gestures as insincerity or superficiality. However, their impressions aren't always accurate. A dry comment or a distant look could simply be signs of a rough day.
Yeah. You try not to look too much into it, you know? People are just people. I mean, we're all similar, so you can't look too into stuff. It gets kind of crazy, right?
To avoid jumping to conclusions, it's essential to combine intuition with long-term observation. Finding balance is crucial. They can continue trusting their perception, but without treating it as infallible.
Yeah.
Asking directly instead of assuming can clarify situations and strengthen genuine connections.
Yeah, assumptions burned me for like the earlier part of my life and made me like kind of lazy. Don't assume anything. I mean, you can like have a prediction. This is kind of like with trading, right? So if you're a trader and you do like day trading or whatever, you can't assume, like so many people assume it's going to go in one direction, right? Up, down, left, right. Just that's a joke. So you assume there's a target, right? And that could be based on your analysis or whatever. And then it doesn't hit it. And then they'll still double down on, well, it should have. So assumptions can get you into a lot of trouble. So you gotta not
Something
do that.
as simple as "is everything
As an
okay?"
intuitive.
can prevent misunderstandings and turn their sensitivity into a true asset rather than a barrier in relationship.
That comes with age.
The role of psychology
Yeah.
in understanding psychological type. Understanding the difference between introverts and extroverts goes beyond simple labels. It's essential for improving human relationship. While many believe introverts are just shy and extroverts are always sociable, the reality is far more complex.
Yeah. I would say I'm an intuitive creative. And I was more introverted for most of my life. And then there was a point where my jobs required me to be more outgoing and put me on the spot. And I was ready to become more of an outrovert. Extrovert? Yeah.
What truly distinguishes them is how they process the world and where they draw their energy. Carl Jung identified 4 essential cognitive functions. Intuition.
I just have to say, whoever did the drawings for this is really good. I think this is a very interesting kind of spooky theme, right? Mysterious, philosophical. You got a couple wizards in there. I think it's pretty good.
Sensation, thinking, and feeling. Each one shapes how a person perceives the world and reacts to their environment. The intuitive introvert, for example, is guided by abstract patterns and future possibilities, whereas a sensory extrovert focuses on what is tangible and immediate.
Wait, what was that? What did you say?
As a sensory guided by their environment. The intuitive introvert, for example, is guided by abstract patterns and future possibilities.
Okay, so is that you? Are you an introvert?
Whereas a sensory extrovert focuses on what is tangible and immediate.
Okay, I'm introvert. Yeah. I don't know, let me know. Let me know which one you are. Are you an introvert or an extrovert intuitive?
When these differences aren't understood, mistaken judgments arise. Because they don't express their thought processes directly, intuitive introverts can be seen as distracted or distant when, in reality, they are simply processing information on a deep level.
All right, I have to revise it. I'm kind of in the middle. I think I'm exactly in the middle, actually. I dip my toes in both sides of the pool.
Similarly, extroverts may be labeled as superficial by those who don't understand their need for external stimulation. More than just an academic field, psychology is a practical tool for improving communication and avoiding unnecessary conflict. When people understand how different personality types function, they can interact more effectively and build healthier relationships. Carl Jung's perspective. Carl Jung was one of the first to describe something many people felt but couldn't explain.
So now we're getting to the meat and potatoes finally.
The complexity of psychological type.
That was all
To
just
him,
introduction.
The intuitive introvert was one of the most mysterious yet essential profiles for understanding the unconscious. Unlike other types, this individual doesn't just observe the world, but seeks to interpret it deeply, connecting elements that go unnoticed by most.
Yeah.
According to Jung, intuition isn't just a random gut feeling, but a legitimate psychological function. In the case of the intuitive introvert, this function manifests through internal images, symbols, and meanings extracted from the unconscious. This explains why they can easily grasp abstract concepts and foresee trends before they become evident.
Oh, man. I am guilty of this. I do this way too much. Like, it's almost like I have a crystal ball and I can it's like I go on it's like you explore. It's almost like this never ending hallway, like a tunnel. And you just kind of let yourself go into it. And then you can kind of feel what the future's gonna have. That's one of the secrets to why I bought a VR headset to begin with. I bought the original Oculus Rift because I hated it, but I felt like there was something in the future that was going to hold value. At the time when the Oculus Rift came out, it was a gimmick. It was a continuation of the recycled gimmick of VR. But something told me, I thought about it for a second, and I could feel you're going to make things with this, physical things. And I knew that was ridiculous, right? You can't just pop something out of a VR headset, obviously. But now I'm able to 3D print those things. So that's just one example. There's other things culturally, I knew we were going to have a pendulum swing. It swung too far to one side, the left side. And so now it's swinging hard, real fast to the right. I predicted this. Other people were predicting this too, but right before COVID, I could see it. I could see things were going too fast, too hard in one direction. And then it just took a couple years. But yeah, it's happened.
However, this ability also presents challenges. Often, their perceptions are so abstract that they become difficult to express. The feeling of operating on a different mental wavelength than others can lead to a sense of isolation or...
Yeah, you'll feel really alone. I'm not even kidding. People think you're dumb.
Misunderstanding. Yet, understanding this function isn't just a matter of curiosity. It's a powerful tool that allows them to turn what seems like a limitation into a great advantage. By recognizing their unique way of processing the world, they can learn to communicate their ideas more clearly and appreciate the value of their distinct perception.
So that's the key is is it going to do anything for you, right? So you can have this intuitive creative ability, right? You can have this intuition, but is it going to make are you going to be able to affect change? Are you going to be able to do anything for you or your environment or people that you interact with in the way that you want, right? Positive or negative.
The nature of introverted intuition. Introverted intuition is a rare form of perception, often misunderstood. While extroverted intuition seeks new experiences in the external world, introverted intuition operates internally, creating invisible connections between seemingly unrelated pieces of information. The intuitive introvert doesn't need direct stimuli for their mind to work.
Yeah. I would say anybody can become this. most anybody. If you have, kind of a normal functioning brain, anybody can do this. You have to grow it, like you have to foster it. If you don't have it from a young age, you can become this. And I did it through just going, within, thinking within. And it was, I don't know how to explain it. Like you do experiments and daydreams with materials and ideas in your head, and then you relax. I guess people would call that meditation. I would try to explain this on like my old Facebook that I deleted, and I could tell like nobody was getting it. So I just deleted that Facebook.
Their insights emerge spontaneously. They may sit in silence and suddenly have a breakthrough about something they've been trying to solve for days. This process happens because their mind is constantly working in the background, organizing patterns and analyzing unconscious information without them realizing it.
Yes, all day. All damn day. Okay? This is another one. So, I know this is real because you'll get that moment where the problem you're trying to solve, you get that idea, boom, like that. Even if it's simple shapes like this, boom, you get it when you're not thinking about it. So there's something else going on when you're not actively watching your thoughts. So that's why it's important to not continue to only think about what you're daydreaming about. You have to give your subconscious a chance to put the pieces together. So it's almost like your active thinking brain will retrieve a bunch of things and concepts that you have seen or experienced or kind of know about, right? And then you have to give your subconscious the chance to put those puzzle pieces together.
Ability can seem mysterious to others. While most people require concrete data to form conclusions, the intuitive introvert picks up on subtle impressions and arrives at answers that seem to come from nowhere. However, since these perceptions don't stem from a linear thought process, they often struggle to explain how they reached a conclusion, which can create confusion in social interactions.
Yeah, when you get like your conclusions or your ideas, right? It feels like it just comes to the surface, like if you're like a well of water, right? I've heard this explained. This is not my original idea. Like you're a well of water that's not moving. This is what Walter Russell, the philosopher, way back in the day, used to talk about. Like you're a well of water that doesn't move, and then you'll get your ideas from that well of still water that's not moving. So I think what he was trying to explain is, and this is how I perceive it, is when you're most relaxed and not working on the problem, like you'll want the idea, you'll want the problem solved, and then you relax completely, and then it pops to the surface. It's really weird.
Additionally, their mind works strongly with internal images and archetypes, universal concepts that shape human thought.
Yeah.
This explains why many intuitive introverts are drawn to philosophy, psychology, and spirituality.
And that's why I loved studying the Walter Russell philosophy so much, was because it tied all that together in like a cosmogony. Yeah, it was like a unified cosmogony that he was trying to explain and share. Now, I'm not telling you he was right or wrong. I'm just saying it's there, and it was very appealing because it attempted to do that. And there's very few things out there that can tie everything together into that. Physical, psychological, spiritual, all that into one. It's really hard. Very rare.
They feel that there's a deeper meaning behind everything and seek to understand these connections. The perception process in introverted intuition. The way an intuitive introvert processes information is vastly different from more rational or sensory-based type. While a sensory-oriented individual relies on what they can see and touch, The intuitive introvert perceives patterns and hidden meanings. They may sense that something is off in a conversation even when nothing has been explicitly said.
Yeah. Yeah. You know when something's awkward, even if nobody says anything.
Small details like a pause in speech, a subtle shift in tone, or an evasive glance all combine in their mind, forming a bigger picture. To others, this perception may seem like excessive imagination, but to them, it makes perfect sense. This explains why, upon meeting someone, the intuitive introvert can quickly form an accurate impression of their personality. They don't.
This also sounds corny, but there have been times when I see somebody walking down the street, and I know they're crazy, even though they don't look crazy. It's happened a few times.
Don't need multiple interactions to pick up on subtleties and predict how certain situations will unfold. However, translating these perceptions into words is a challenge. Explaining something that appears as a mental image or an abstract feeling can be frustrating.
Yeah, and I think this is what Tesla talked about. He talked about he would have these mental images that would just be burned in front of him, and it was hard to get rid of them. He had an amazing ability to see, you physically see the mental images. And I always wanted to do that. I thought that was so cool. Like, you could make anything if you could imagine, it right in front of you. So I did a lot of thought experiments, and that's how all I do is it's not that special. All I do is, put shapes together, and that's what sculpting is. And that's what these little things that I make are. It's just, shapes and how they interact with each other and the different materials. I'm not on, nowhere near that level of genius, but I feel this is something that everybody can grow and develop. Yeah. And I think a lot of people aren't even thinking about it. They're not even listening to the possibilities. But yeah, it's like you'll get that image or you'll feel the image. You don't see it, and you just know it's going to work. And I think there's there's people that'll feel it or see it, or both. It's a mixed bag.
Often, when they try to share their vision, they realize that others can't keep up. What seems obvious to them may sound vague or incomprehensible to others.
Yes.
This communication gap can lead them to withdraw, keeping their perceptions to themselves. However...
Oh, man. All the time. You're just like, wow, they just don't care. They don't get it. So then you go back to the drawing board.
When they find effective ways to express themselves, their intuition becomes a powerful asset. They can develop strategies to translate their ideas into more accessible language, making them not just someone who deeply understands the world, but also someone capable of sharing that understanding in a clear and meaningful way.
Did I not talk about that earlier? It doesn't mean anything unless you can affect your life or others around you, right? Or your environment.
The isolation of the intuitive introvert. The intuitive introvert naturally inhabits their own mental world. Their mind is a space for reflection, where they connect ideas and perceive patterns that others don't notice. Unlike those who seek energy in social interaction, they feel most at ease in introspection.
Yes, you create your own little theme park inside of your head.
However, this preference for the internal world can sometimes lead to isolation. They often feel that few people truly understand their way of thinking.
Thus, no friends.
It's not a deliberate choice to withdraw, but rather a gradual distancing that occurs when superficial interactions feel empty.
Yeah.
They crave deep conversations where they can explore hidden meanings and discuss abstract ideas.
Oh. It's almost painful when there's nobody that wants to talk about abstract ideas. Or feel into the future, right? It's in Stargate, where the Daniel character puts his hand right, he puts it through the portal at first. It's like that. And then you realize nobody wants to put their hand through an experiment. And they're not fascinated by it. And then you're like, are you kidding me? Like, what are y'all doing?
When they don't find this level of exchange, they prefer solitude. The real challenge isn't to abandon introspection, but to balance it with authentic connections. Their internal world is rich, but that doesn't mean they should completely shut themselves off from the outside world. Instead of forcing interactions that feel shallow, they can seek environments and circles that appreciate deeper discussions. Expressing themselves through writing, joining groups with similar interests, or finding people who share their way of thinking can help reduce this sense of disconnection.
I've never felt that. I never felt like I needed to do that. I don't know. I think most people would, but I don't know. I just never felt that need to be filled.
Without compromising their authenticity. The conflict with reality and the compensatory function. The intuitive introvert has a challenging relationship with the concrete world. While their mind is busy processing invisible patterns, future possibilities, and hidden meanings, reality demands immediate attention. Commitments, deadlines, and everyday responsibilities can feel trivial or even overwhelming to.
I hate calendars. I hate countdowns and calendars.
Someone whose energy is directed toward the abstract. This practical difficulty often manifests as forgetfulness, disorganization, and mental overload in the face of excessive sensory stimuli.
Yeah, like the mere mention of 2 or 3 upcoming dates, it stresses me out. I got to set like 15 different alarms for it.
To cope with this, they
and then take a nap.
Develop their inferior function, extroverted sensing, which helps them connect to the physical world. However, this adaptation tends to be unstable. They may oscillate between long periods of introspection and impulsive moments where they seek intense sensory experiences, such as extreme sports, uncontrolled eating,
drinking,
or excessive consumption of entertainment,
video games,
as a form of compensation. This imbalance can lead to anxiety and procrastination.
Oh, brutal. So I designed this really awesome USB cable organizer, okay? And I perfected it. All right. You can fit 6 different USB cables inside. I have it printed in squishy polyurethane now, the TPU. Okay. This stuff's awesome. And you can fit a big giant power cord in the middle. The problem is getting marketing is a huge challenge, I think, for intuitive types, because it's with all those concrete things like deadlines, photos, descriptions, measurements when you put your listing up, and then having everything ready to go, right? I would say I thrive as an idea guy, and I fail at. I can manage. We ran a language school in South Korea, very successful for years and years. I was more on the teaching end because I was the brand, right? And they wanted the native speaker, me, to speak English and interact with the students. So that was what I was tasked with. But, I can manage and I can lead, but those deadline concrete things, I can do it. But I know that when I do those things, and if I'm good at, doing that and I'm on the ball, organizing everything, I'm sacrificing my time and ability to be creative. And I experienced this when I was going to college. I was so good at, the micromanaging of all the stuff. I would I've never been able to be that good at mental organization since then. I taught myself how to study. I would use my intuition to try and imagine what the teachers would ask on the tests, and I got really, really good at it. And then there was one class my humanities class, I would memorize the test. It was like a 50 question multiple choice. I would measure the test, and he didn't have any multiple versions of the test. It was just one type of test. And there was this other lady, this older Korean lady, and she was struggling in the class. And I had just gotten back from Korea. I thought she was Chinese, but she ended up being Korean, which is funny. And then so I would help her. Like, she was there with her son, and I felt bad that she was failing that one class. And the teacher was like, "Look, you got to pass it. You got to do the work." And I think she was doing the work, but it was too complicated. So I would memorize the test, and then I would take it, go to her house, and then she'd give me a piece of paper and a bowl of ramen. I would work for ramen, okay? And I would write all the answers of the test. And like some of the multiple choice, like I had it down. I've never been able to do that since then. I don't know. I was just on the ball, and I was always studying. I got really good grades. But at that time, I was so organized in my brain, I felt like I was about to go crazy. So then I took a watercolor class, which I was terrible at, but I enjoyed. It helped me to relax. And then I took a sculpting class, which I was horrible at, like horrible. I could not figure out how to spin that wheel and make the cups. My final project was a book. I just, chopped it up and put the layers together and put a bookmark in it, and that was it. I was terrible at both of those classes, but they rekindled that spark of like creativity. And I think you can be intuitive in different ways, and you can be creative in different ways. It doesn't have to be, art. It can also be in, organization or studying or anything like that, or, financial stuff. So I think there's different shades of this intuitive creativity, or the intuitive introvert, I guess is what I'm trying to say. That's a lot of words.
To prevent their intuition from becoming an obstacle to practical life, they can adopt small strategies to help them stay focused on the present.
And I did
Creating
it too
simple
much.
routines, setting
I felt like
reminders,
I was going to snap.
And breaking tasks into smaller steps are effective ways to align their abstract perception with the demands of the real world. The underestimation and misunderstanding of the intuitive introvert. Society values what is tangible, fast, and easily explainable. This puts the intuitive introvert in a delicate position, as their way of processing information is deep and nonlinear. They see innovative solutions.
It's like a web. It's like a web, but you don't have to see it. But everything's like connected. It's the Hoover Bloob highway in your head. And it's really challenging to see people make gobbledygook slop content, which is what I'm trying to do right here. They make all this slop content and all this gossip content, and they're making good money, and they do it real fast, and they do it every day. And then it's hard for intuitive introverts and creatives when they see that, because they're working on a problem that takes a lot of time and patience to let develop. It's like watching a flower to bloom, okay? It takes time, it takes days, months, sometimes years, right? And you want to see like the full picture. You want to see the full thing unfold and bloom. You don't want it like half-assed. You don't want it divided into parts. You want the whole thing as it is, and you're willing to wait for that to happen. And then you see everybody else running at, the speed of light, making good money or doing these stupid jobs that never should have existed, and being successful really quickly. And when you're an intuitive introvert or creative type, you look at that and you're just you get like disgusted about it. Like, it really pisses you off. And you think, really, this is what we've come to. This is society. So there's the ad-based economy in a nutshell.
recognize patterns before they become evident, and anticipate changes that others have yet to notice.
Oh,
However, because they can't always justify their conclusions with concrete data, they may be discredited, underestimated, or even considered too complicated. This misunderstanding can lead to the devaluation of their abilities. In the workplace, their ideas may be ignored in favor of more straightforward solutions. In social circles, they may be seen as eccentric for preferring reflective conversations over superficial interactions.
Yep, I told you, no friends. Lots of alcohol.
Even in their personal lives, they may feel that few truly recognize the value of their unique way of thinking. However, history is filled with intuitive introverts who were misunderstood in their time.
Yeah, and it's really sad, like, I mean, anybody really, like writers, inventors, oftentimes a lot of the greatest things ever made, the original creators never got to see the success of it. Like, they'll put the idea out, people poo-pooed it, and then later, after they're dead, people liked the painting, people liked the sculpture, people liked the invention, and they turned it into a billion, trillion-dollar business. But that's life, Once you accept that fact, it's not so grim.
Jung, Tesla, Einstein, and many others. The challenge isn't to be accepted by everyone, but to find environments and people who appreciate their distinctive perspective. When they learn to trust their intuition and communicate effectively, they turn their unique vision into a powerful asset. The role of life
That's the challenge, I think, right now, for me. Is you committing to the I'm hungry. Committing to the entire process, seeing it to the very end, right? Follow through, stuff like that, no matter what other people say.
Experience in the intuitive's development. For the intuitive introvert, experience is the best form of learning. Unlike those who absorb knowledge through rules and direct instructions, they need to live through something to fully understand it.
So imagine like the kids that just can't keep the rules, can't follow the rules, but they're good kids, when you're in grade school growing up. I'm really hungry. That might explain some of those kids. And then they put them on medicine, right? I'm just saying, maybe that's something that we should look at.
Their mind connects information in a deep and abstract way, making simple memorization an ineffective method for their growth.
Oh, I hate
this personality type
like
tends to question ready-made truths and seek their own answers. While many follow teachings without hesitation, they need to test, reflect, and adapt knowledge to their own understanding.
So this is why I don't make a whole lot of videos, because I've tried to do the script thing and, look at the laptop or whatever and read it. It's always a disaster. Excuse me. It's always a disaster for me because it feels so goofy. Like goofy. And I know there are times when you have to have a script or like a narration, right? Or a voiceover, stuff like that. But like if I'm looking at the camera right now, if I was reading a script, first of all, I'd notice, that my eyes are going. Have you ever noticed people like their eyes are always like that or like that, right? That bugs me personally. But yeah, that's why I can't read a script, is because I can't do that, the rules, the memorization in that way. I have to see the whole picture. And oftentimes that picture is in my head, and I'll try to make content and it'll just sound like I'm just rambling and ranting. But you know what? I think I'm at a point where I'm fine with that.
This process can make them wise.
It's better to put it out there than to just, not make anything, I think. I've accepted that fact.
And more independent, but it may also create the impression that they take longer to make decisions. However, once they grasp something, their vision is broad and detailed, going far beyond what was taught on the surface.
Yeah.
Creating an environment that stimulates this kind of learning is essential for their development. Immersive experiences, such as travel, deep conversations, and creative exploration, are more effective than traditional methods. Reading can also
Disney World. Okay. Universal Studios. Cayman Islands. I'm going to Korea this summer. I'll see you there.
also be a powerful tool, but
I'm going to be doing a lot of Vermillion painting in the headset and sculpting.
only when it involves
While I'm there.
content that challenges their mind and expands their worldview. The structure of cognitive functions and complementarity. The personality of the intuitive introvert isn't defined solely by their intuition. It results from the interaction of different cognitive functions, each playing a specific role. While introverted intuition is dominant, it never operates in isolation. Auxiliary functions help balance their perception and influence how they think, feel, and act. If their secondary function is extroverted thinking, they will have a more logical and structured approach to organizing and expressing their ideas. If it is introverted feeling, they will make decisions based on internal values and deep emotions. Meanwhile, extroverted sensing can help them better navigate the concrete world, counterbalancing their tendency to get lost.
So I guess this is just a summary. This is a kind of a conclusion. I feel like it's repeating itself at this point. I think that's about it. I think you get the idea. So if you are a creative intuitive, if you're an extrovert or an introvert, try to explain it in the comments. Maybe you are trying to discover your creative intuition. Maybe you aren't interested at all. I don't know. I don't know what you're doing here, but that's what we're doing on this channel. We're trying to explore that. And you can see in my content library, I've struggled to even have the same setup. I kind of like this one. This one's kind of cool. We got some footage of Korea in the background. Okay, a little foreshadowing for you. Yeah, it's really hard because we spend a lot of our time just thinking of simple concepts and then putting them together, but we're not always actively doing it. It kind of comes together when we stop thinking about it. That's been my experience at least. And I wouldn't change anything about it. You know, like I've always felt like that was something that could be explored. And I finally started to do it in my 30s, and I regret starting so late. When you're younger and you don't have, you know, a lot of responsibilities or kids to take care of, you have all the time in the world, really. You're able to just race against yourself. Me, I feel like I'm racing against the clock. You know, I'm getting older, and like I said, I have real world responsibilities. So it's hard to balance that. You know, we all have these delusions and these ideas, right? And they're fun to entertain, and we can see the maximum potential, the total possibility, right? And we can picture that, and it's almost like we can reach out and touch it. It's so real in our minds. But it has to be balanced. And I think that's what this video was doing at the end, is kind of reintroducing that idea and summarizing with, you have to counterbalance those ideas with reality. And that's when you're going to find success in your art, in your, you know, products or whatever. So yeah, in the meantime, I'm gonna work on, you know, the physical reality of getting these things out there. You can go check them out on Colts 3D. You can download my designs and print them yourself on your own 3D printer. If you need a 3D printer, I always have it linked in the description. I always have my beautiful headset and the Kiwi battery strap, the comfort strap that I like. I like this one. I don't like the one over the top of the forehead, although a lot of people like that one. I would probably cover up a little my hairline better. But it's great. You got to have a battery pack. And these are not LiPo batteries. These are safer batteries. And I love it. Also, you need the silicone face cover that goes on top of the face pad. Definitely recommend that. I'm going to be continuing to work on printing my latest candy dispenser, the Elegoo with the Eskimo on top. I made a short about it. Go check it out. Until then, stay creative. Go sculpt something. See you in the next video.